Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of the Perception Diet, and today we have the latest episode of Real Talk for Lightworkers. So today I want to talk to you about why, if it is good for you, it is good for them. Alright? So the purpose of this video, again, is to really help to solidify in your mind why the martyrdom complex that most lightworkers carry is passé, and why we are ready to move on from it, and why it actually isn't helpful for you to be self-sacrificing in your light work, and how it's actually counterintuitive to be self-sacrificing in your light work. Okay? So a few videos ago, I made a video about why you need everyone to agree with you. And I will put the link to that down below. And if I haven't put the link to that down below, please remind me to do that. And in that video, I told you about why our kind of current collective consciousness requires that everyone be in agreement with what reality is. And that is because we are living out of alignment with the truth of actual reality. So if you haven't watched that video, please go watch that video, because that'll make everything that I'm going to say here make more sense. And it's basically to say that, you know, there are many, many systems in place, right, that are not in alignment with the truth of our highest frequency, that are not in alignment with the truth of ultimate reality. For instance, like government, that there is a body of people who have the power and authority to rule over or dictate to another group of people what they should do with their lives, right? Like, that is a man-made construct that does not align with ultimate reality, in the sense that if we all stopped participating in it, the system of government wouldn't just continue on its own, right? What would probably occur if we all really stepped into ourselves and came into ultimate reality, we would align with sovereignty. We would understand that each individual is here to be responsible for themselves. And with that, you know, in a utopian sense, that if we all kind of came into alignment with ourselves, we would all work as a unit and understand that, you know, we are a unit. So this is where we're going with this, okay? So to understand that many things in the reality, so in the broad spectrum, like government being something that we all participate in, right? And the microcosm, so like in your family and in your relationships, there are systems in place that are, again, not in alignment with your highest frequency, not in the alignment with the highest frequency of everybody, but that we are all agreeing to participate in because we have said, okay, well, this is reality, and so we must all participate. Okay? And so this is where the light workers come in and start to become martyrs. All right? So for instance, let's take an example of like someone who's in a relationship with someone who has a drinking problem. Okay? So this person, this light worker, may enable their partner to continue to drink because they don't want to upset the balance and the kind of status quo that exists in their relationship. So this person may essentially kind of justify putting up with this person's abusive behavior, putting up with this person's self-abuse, enabling this person to continue to drink. Maybe they purchase alcohol for them, maybe they just don't say anything when they know that it's getting out of hand. Whatever the case may be, they allow for this behavior to continue. And this light worker will know on a level that it is hurting you, right? To be in a relationship with someone who is that self-destructive is painful for you, and it is painful for this other person, and that there is pain occurring for both of you. However, right, there may be a larger part of you that wants to simply allow for this person to continue to do what they're doing because you don't want to hurt them or make them feel bad about themselves or shame them in any way for what they're doing by confronting them or not participating or removing your kind of enabling behavior, right? And as a light worker, right, there's the greater part of you that understands that what they're doing isn't good and isn't beneficial for them and is coming from a place of pain, and there's a greater part of you that understands that by being in proximity to it, that you are absolutely being abused, because this is what happens, right? When we are in relationship with one another and someone is acting from a place of self-hate, that energy is always going to be put forward. We're never operating in a vacuum, okay? So when we are existing in a state of self-hate and we are existing in a state of self-sabotage, we are absolutely causing damage and destruction to those around us, right? And so you are being affected. However, like I said, there may be another part of you that says, I don't want to disturb this person, I don't want to upset them, I don't want to hurt them, I don't want to interrupt their thing. You may even be saying, you know, like, it's not my place, it's not my job to intervene, that it's their life, and it's not my responsibility or my role to tell them that what they're doing is wrong or bad, or that they should be doing something different, and all of these things. Okay. And so as light workers, we can get into this kind of very confusing place where we don't know where our place is, right? Where we are, in a sense, sacrificing ourselves. So in that example, we are sacrificing our own happiness and our own peace in a lot of ways when we enable someone to continue to hurt themselves in that way, and then participate in that relationship. And then, right, but then there's the other part of you that just loves this person so dearly, does not want to judge them, does not want to force them to do something that they don't need to be doing right now or whatever, right? And so we have all this confusing, conflicting information, and we end up kind of, like I say, sacrificing ourselves, right? Other examples are just, just like overextending yourself in friendships where, you're exhausted, you really don't have time or energy to do something, and someone asks something of you, and rather than saying no and knowing that you're going to inconvenience them, you say yes, even though it's going to inconvenience you, and you do it anyways, right? And you kind of drain yourself. And so the first thing that I want to point out here is that when we are in a cycle of self-sacrifice, all right, whether that be with a partner, with friends, at work, just in general. Like I say, light workers tend to be this kind of person where we overextend and overassume responsibility for how the other person is feeling, and we overassume responsibility for our role in keeping everybody staying happy, right? And so we see that there are things that people are doing to themselves that are self-destructive, and this can really be, when people are kind of over asking you for help and over relying on you for things, and you are saying yes more often than you know in your own heart is really where your kind of energy levels are at. We are enabling these people to be in a state of helplessness. We are enabling people to be in a state of self-sabotage, right? And what we need to understand, okay, is that when we are doing this, although we feel like we are doing these other people a favor, right, by not inconveniencing them, by not expressing that, like, hey, your habits are actually not working for you or for me, and we are hurting each other by allowing this to continue, we, like I say, go into the self-sacrifice mode and continue to support the behavior that we're seeing, okay? And now we do this for two reasons, okay? Number one, we do this because we know that if we were to check out, right? So the first thing that we need to understand is that with the drinking partner, right? You don't have to go to them and be like, hey, you can't drink anymore. You have to go to a 12-step program and get off alcohol, right? Like, all you would have to do is stop participating in the process, right? That if you simply just said, okay, I'm just not going to buy you alcohol anymore, and I'm not going to make excuses for you when you are hungover and, can't go to work. I'm just going to stop participating in the thing. I'm not telling you you have to change. I'm not telling you you have to do anything different. I'm not telling you you can't drink anymore. I'm not telling you any of these things. I'm just saying that for me, I'm going to put up the boundaries that I'm going to put up. I'm going to stop participating in your thing, right? We know that just by doing that, you fuck the whole thing up, right? That because it is an agreed upon false reality, right? That this is not really truly in alignment with this person, this is not really truly in alignment with you, who you are. That if anyone in the circle of people who are involved in this false reality check out, right? Simply to start taking care of themselves, it messes the whole thing up for everybody, right? Because that's what we talked about in that other video, that in order to live in these agreed upon realities that are not in alignment with our highest truth, everyone has to participate in order for it to work. So for one person to say, look, you don't have to change, but I'm just not going to participate anymore, we know that we are essentially like throwing a match on the bale of hay, right? And so what we do as light workers is we go into this state of like, I'm just gonna continue to participate in this agreed upon reality so as not to upset the status quo, because I don't want to make this person feel bad about themselves. And so that's the first thing, right? That we're self-sacrificing because we don't want to hurt the people around us, right? We really don't want to be the shit disturber. And the first thing that I'm going to say about that is, like, you know, on some level that of course it's uncomfortable to be the shit disturber, right? And you have probably been this person your entire life, that you as a light worker came with a higher awareness of how things really are and didn't naturally fall into the systems that were at play. And in order for you to be participating in a lot of the systems that are going on, like religion and government and the way that people treat themselves and things that go on in relationships or whatever, you are finely tuned and aware that you are sacrificing yourself, right? That you are not living in alignment with your highest truth in order to facilitate these things that are going on. And like I say, part of that comes from you not wanting to hurt other people, right? You don't want to disturb them. So you know that even though this person's drinking is not good for them, right? That they're not doing something great for themselves, that they're hurting themselves and it's coming from a place of pain. You don't want to be the one that says, I'm not going to participate anymore, or I'm going to rock the boat on this, because you know that in the beginning, right, when things like this are brought up and people stop participating and this person has to kind of look at themselves, right, that initially that's going to be painful for them. And you don't want to be the person to cause that pain. So the first thing that I'm going to let you know is this. When you step out of participating in behaviors and things that people are doing to themselves that are self-destructive, you are not causing them pain. No matter how much they want to project it onto you, no matter how much they want to blame you, no matter how much they want to say that it's your fault, you need to understand that the only reason this person or these people are participating in anything that is not in alignment with their highest self is because they're already in pain. All right? They're doing this behavior as a way of trying to numb the pain they're already in, right? And so by you stopping to participate, some part of that structure that is, you know, keeping the pain under the surface, that, right, like the person who is drinking, obviously they're drinking because they are in pain, not because they, right, it's not the alcohol that's causing them the pain, it's the pain that they're in is causing them to need the alcohol and the whole world that revolves around that drinking, right? And so for the one person to kind of step away from that, the whole pyramid falls apart, and the whole structure of keeping the pain under the surface falls apart, and the pain is going to come up, and they're going to be like, hey, it's your fault, right? I was fine until you stopped participating in my thing. And so you need to understand that, number one, no, it is not your fault. They are already in that pain already exists, and the structure they have built around it that you have been participating in has simply been numbing the pain, right? And the second thing you need to acknowledge is that the reason that you think that self-sacrificing is a thing to do is because you want to guarantee that these other people are going to continue to love and accept you, okay? You don't want to disturb the shit because you don't want to be rejected. And this is the deepest reason why light workers martyr themselves, okay? We truly believe that if we are to step out and say, hey, I'm just not going to participate, right? Like I said, this doesn't even have to be like I'm doing an intervention and I'm coming in and I'm changing the way that you live. It's like, it doesn't even have to be anything like that. It's really just saying, like, I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to do what I know is right for me, and I'm going to live in alignment with my truth and with what makes me feel good. So maybe leaving the situation, or like I said, just not participating in the behavior anymore, or like I say, putting up boundaries and saying like, hey friend, I know that you rely on me for these things, but I can't do it anymore. It's truly not an energetic exchange that's in a high vibration for me. I feel resentful, I feel tired, I feel overdrawn. I love you, but I just can't do this. The reason that we continue to do these things rather than doing what we know we need to do for ourselves is because we are afraid that love is going to go away from ourselves, okay? So we need to understand that as we learn to truly, deeply love ourselves, We are going to be called to stop participating in things that are our kind of way of manipulating those around us to love us, right? We are essentially manipulating those around us to love us by participating in their self-destructive behaviors, by participating in the out of alignment reality that exists. And we have to know that, of course, when we step out of it, people are going to be upset. People are going to be rejecting. People are going to be projecting. People are going to be pointing the finger, okay? So I can tell you this from my own life. I used to be incredibly self-sacrificing. I used to bend over backwards for everyone in my life. And I got to a point where I realized that not only was I not actually helping these people, okay, like I wasn't helping my partner by never demanding that he learn how to cook or clean or shop or do these things for himself, right? I was keeping him out of the initial discomfort of having to learn those skills, but overall, I was building up resentment in our relationship. I was disempowering him, right, from learning how to do these things on his own. I was continuing to kind of create an existence for ourselves where I felt like that's where I got my power, right? That's where I got my juice. That's where I got my love. That like I did all of these things for him. And so it was like a guarantee that he had to love me because I was doing these things, right? And when I fully started to come into this concept of loving myself deeply, it didn't mean that I turned into a complete asshole who never does anything for anyone else. I still cook for him. I still do things for him. We still have a partnership, okay? But I did absolutely step back in the amount of things I was doing for him. And that caused a disruption, and he was not happy about it in the beginning. And we had to go through this process of learning of like, okay, well, this just isn't beneficial for any of us. And I don't want to have this power over you, right? And I don't want to be in this power play where like I hold these cards, right? And we have to understand that that's what we're doing. That we're not truly self-sacrificing and martyring when we're martyring for other people. We are asking for love through a manipulation rather than knowing that we are worthy of love just by existing, okay? So what is the point of this? The point of this is this, right? We need to understand that because we are a unit, when you are fully and completely loving yourself and serving the highest version of yourself that you can in this moment, you are creating the best situation for everyone else on the planet to do the same. Okay, so by you pulling out of a destructive habit, you are creating space for that person to heal, right? And as much as it might feel destructive that you check out, and as much as that person might say, like, you are causing this pain and everything was fine until you stopped participating and da-da-da-da-da, the truth is, you are creating a space for that person to heal. And then you have to let go and understand that that person may or may not heal. That person may or may not choose to take the opportunity to look in on themselves and say, okay, yeah, I need to take responsibility for this. But just by you stepping out, you've created the opportunity. And that's all that you can really do for anybody, okay? So it's just like in the body, right? If the liver is going to sacrifice itself for the heart, eventually the body is going to become toxic and you're going to die, right? There's no such thing as self-sacrifice, not in the way that we work here. And so we need to understand that when the liver is allowing for itself to be nourished in the way that it needs to be nourished and for it to do its job, right, it serves the whole body. And when the liver does not do that, it doesn't serve the whole body. So we need to understand that we are a unit. And so by you fully learning to love yourself, by you fully learning to accept yourself, by you fully learning how to love yourself enough to say, okay, I'm not going to participate in these self-destructive things. I still love you. I still support you. I still want you to have everything that you want to have, and I'm still going to be in a relationship with you or whatever, but I'm not going to participate in the self-destructive stuff. Yes, it's going to bring things up. You're going to have to learn to love yourself deeper, and at the same time understand that you are creating the space for them to heal. And that's what we're here to do as light workers. We're not here to participate in people's pain. We're here to be the ship disturbers. So love yourself enough to be a shit disturber, okay? So that's that. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. Please join the Patreon group. We're having a really good time. We meet 3 times a month. 2 meetings are kind of teachings, and 1 is a meditation. And I think that's all I have to say. So I will see you in the next video.